Hi, folks. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're calling in from. We are glad to have you here today as for the next edition of Music Business Common Ground webinar series. Before we introduce today's presenters, I have a couple of quick housekeeping notes for you. Just a reminder for today's webinar, if you'd like to get in touch with your fellow attendees, be sure to change your Zoom chat settings to everyone, and that way folks can see your messages. If you have any questions specific for today's panel, feel free to drop them in the dedicated Q&A button on your Zoom dashboard. You'll click that button. There's a little text box that pops up, and we'll get your questions in a dashboard and answer them at the end of today's webinar. Other than today's event, we have a couple of exciting announcements from the music biz side. Last week, we confirmed the return of our Let's Talk Physical series. We're going to have another free edition of the Let's Talk Physical series on Tuesday, November 12th, hosted over Zoom. This hour-long event is going to cover ensuring how your physical sales are tallied and accurately reported if you're an indie retailer, and also a discussion on defining indie retail's role in supporting the artist new release ecosystem. You can find more information about this event and all of our events on the homepage of musicbiz.org. Also, be sure to follow us on socials. We're active on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram at MusicBizAssoc. While you're at our website, you can find out information about our annual conference. MusicBiz 2025 is taking place May 12th to the 15th in Atlanta, Georgia for the first time ever. If you'd like to be part of the conference, you can register and start your travel plans today, but also be sure to send us ideas for what we should be talking about at MusicBiz 2025 through our call for presentations. It's your chance to inform the annual program for our next MusicBiz conference and let us know what the most important topics you think the industry should be covering going into the next year are. So check that out today at musicbiz.org or our dedicated conference website, musicbiz2025.com. While you're there, you can find out information about registration, discounted hotel rooms, and sponsorship opportunities. Finally, we just published an updated agenda for our next in-person event. That'll be our second annual Trust and Safety in Music Symposium, taking place in January next year at NYU's Kimmel Center. Be sure to visit musicbiz.org. There's a big trust and safety button there. From there, you can access our agenda. It has the first confirmed speakers, as well as information on our roundtable discussions. Throughout the day, you're going to hear panels of experts talking about the Michael Smith case and how our industry has responded to fraud up to this point and how it can improve on its fraud response going forward, and what the Smith case implications it has for our industry going forward. But let's not talk anymore about future events. Let's go back to today's event. Really grateful to have the team from Tradable Bits here to discuss the artist fan journey and how data is improving that. So please welcome Alicia and Lenny from the Tradable Bits team. Take it away, y'all.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us. Welcome to our webinar today. We're just going to talk a little bit about how narrowing the space between artists and fans. You can meet the team here. So I'm Lenny, and this is Alicia. Alicia, say hello. I think she's on mute. So I'm your opening act. I'm going to take you through the first part of this. All the good stuff's coming from Alicia. She'll be your headliner, and she's going to walk you through some other elements for it. So fun fact, I once played in a wedding band called the Wedding Thrashers. So this is my play into the music biz overall. So for me, I'm super fortunate that just in general, we get to work with some of the leaders in the music and entertainment industry. I've been with the company for about 10 years now. So it's been a fun ride to really see us, work in this sort of industry overall. But let's dive right into it here. So right now, I'm sure you know there's a lot of artist awareness and dialogue happening around data ownership. As artists, you probably spent many years building your following and your fans, but at the end of the day, who owns that data? It's not really you, right? It's the social networks, it's Zuckerberg, it's things like that. So everyone knows the importance of owning their masters. Well, let's talk about owning your audience. And let's get into what that sort of means. So we're Canadians, so we like to say A. And these are the three A's that are most important to us. So that's a real quality dad joke that I stole or borrowed from my colleague Sean. Um, but let's start with the first A overall, which is acquire. So we can't really play a show to an empty room, right? So we really need to go through and build an audience. So we're going to talk you through a little bit of that fan journey and how we go about using this acquire, analyze, activate formula. But let's talk a little bit about the challenges first. I think everybody knows that data is really important, but it can feel a bit daunting. Um, then once it's collected, where does it live? Then one spreadsheet over here, or it's an email with an attachment file over there, and it's like super challenging to organize and even be able to do something with that data. So, how do you solve for that? So we make the mess your strength with a suite of tools tailor-made for music and live events industry. We're taking all these disparate data sources and different things like that and centralizing them into an existing technology stack or platform that helps you reach your fans more efficiently while uncovering opportunities for the future. Ultimately, you're running a business. So imagine you buy a computer or a new phone. This is in the 80s using DOS. You need some type of operating system, and that's what we can help you sort of provide you. You're essentially we've created all these solutions across a wide variety of technologies, from ticketing, CRMs, email, POS, app integrations, things like that. You may use many of these things, or you may only use a few of these things, but now you can kind of integrate these all together. And from a music analogy, think of this as a front of house mixing console, and you're like feeding in all the different sort of lines into it. And how do you control it out of one singular place? So here's a real industry challenge, right? Unless you're Taylor Swift, artists typically don't get the ticketing data for the shows that they play. Not all followers are your real fans too. So you want to find out who they are. Who are the people that are buying your ticket? Who are coming to your shows and things like that. So there's one sort of, let's call it a hack of turning ticket buyers at your shows into real data that you can have access to, and turn that into first party data that you take ownership. Think of it as Fan Club 2.0, but you can create digital campaigns, which we have an entire sort of tool set for you to be able to do, and engage them at your show with different ways like a sign or QR code at the merch booth and offer something in exchange of value. So maybe if you do that activation, you can get a free sticker or something along the lines. This is a simple way, if you can imagine doing that through your entire tour and setting one up for each of the venues that you do. Imagine all the different types of data and signups or different things like that you'd be able to start building in your database. And guess what? Every one of them who filled that in bought a ticket to your show. So this is an example of things that you can kind of build out of this very simple form entry, but we always recommend some type of give and get, right? These are your fans. They're interested in engaging with you. So give them the option. Let them choose how to opt into different types of communication and what the way they prefer, which then allows you to communicate to them in the different methods or mediums that you feel is most authentic overall. So let's look at a couple of examples. So anyone from BMG in the audience overall? I think we saw some registrations. This is a really excellent example of a creative way for a label and artist to collaborate. So the Corey Taylor mixtape was a physical scavenger hunt, and it really drove marketing automation overall. They're asking fans to fill in this type of survey form where they would fill in some details, and based on the location that they filled that in, they got an automatically emailed instructions on how to claim a limited edition cassette tape to their nearest record store. And if they couldn't, if it was sold out, then they would also get a follow-up piece, which was exclusive digital content. So this was a fantastic way, in my opinion, of a way a label and artist's interests can align, and data is collected for everyone, and driving traffic to BMG retail partners at the same time too. And then on the next one, we'll have a link that we're going to throw into the chat here that you can look into this. But anyone like J. Cole and Dreamville? The team at Dreamville wanted to celebrate their loyal fan base and build a way to drive word of mouth. So this Dreamville UGC contest was essential in delivering the word of mouth endorsements about the festival experience. And the best thing about this is, I don't know about you guys, but I find endorsements or referrals or things like that from your friends are much, much stronger and trusted. So that's what they wanted to be able to sort of provide about having their fans tell this experience about what Dreamville is like. And the best part about it is you can let fans build authentic content for you to share, which is much, much better, obviously, than you just shouting at your fans and audience about that. So I love how they really leverage the earned media in it, and it's so much more authentic. And the best part is they were driving surprise and delight to some of these fans as well too, just for their effort. So check out that video we have in the chat on your own time. I think it's really cool because the partner sort of shared it on LinkedIn and kind of talked about the whole methodology behind it. With that, I'm gonna pass the opening acts done. Applause, no encore. I'll pass it over to Alicia here.
Thanks, Lenny. Yeah, so as Lenny was touching on, obviously capturing first party data is like first and foremost, whether you're, building up your email list or building up a CRM with people who are opting into email and or SMS communication from you. And so really we want to now take that data and make it actionable and take it a little bit of a step further than what marketers have traditionally done in the past. So when we look at the traditional marketing funnel, a lot of marketers have taken this approach of mass marketing, and then, you always see that funnel to find your qualified leads. But we actually like to flip that funnel completely on its head and actually start with a fan and work your way out from there. So our whole philosophy is let's actually understand the fans at an individual level first. Then find people that are like them and segment them into target audiences so that we can put the right message in front of the right fan at the right time and build it out from there. So what we have built over the last number of years is really around putting all that data together so you actually have a fan profile for each individual fan that you work with. And that would bring in, merchandise behavior. If you are able to get ticketing, that can be imported into there too. But also those engagement campaign activities that Lenny was touching on is, if we're running a Spotify authentication type of contest where we're asking people to authenticate with Spotify and share some information with us, or participate in a contest, we can also get a lot of affinity data in that process as well. So we do want to obviously understand who our fan demographics are. So yes, it's important to know the average age of your fan base, where are they located around the world. That's obviously like the lowest hanging fruit of what we want to start with. But really what we want to do is take that a step further and actually understand what are the fans listening to that are engaging with you, and what are the similar artists they're also listening to as well. Because that's also super helpful, whether they're listening to, artists that you may or may not work with, or it just wants to give you a better idea of the types of genres that, they're also potentially listening to inform your own strategy as well. And so it's really important for us to understand the affinity that each of our fans have towards these artists, as well as activating on that data in real time. Because we do know, especially with Spotify, people listen to things and follow artists every single day, that needs to be dynamic. It needs to be updated live. And this is where APIs really come in handy, and why we're big fans of APIs being at a tech company, is we're all about moving data instantaneously as it's relevant to where it needs to go. And so I'm going to show you how we do this in a minute, but really some of the common things that we work with a lot of our music partners on is, yes, putting fans together in a specific audience of past purchasers. That's always, a low-hanging fruit. Let's target people who bought last time, whether it was they bought merch or they bought for a specific event, but also taking, like I said, a step further and finding those affinity audiences of people who listen to certain genres of music, and who have or have not interacted with your brand or your artist in a certain period of time. So isolating those fans who maybe you haven't seen in a while, but they're in your list, they're in your database, and you want to re-engage them. And then, of course, obviously by demographics. So making sure that you're targeting messages to Gen Z maybe slightly differently than how you would target to, someone in the Gen X or millennial demographic. And so the third point of this is, once we've segmented and understood who the fans are and the groups of fans and those audiences, that third piece is really about how do we turn that data into the real fan connections, and how do we segment those different audiences and use that in real time to sync over to a lot of the marketing tools that we're using, right? As marketers, I've been in the marketing space for 15 plus years now, and I've used them all, from the MailChimps to the CRM tools. There's a lot out there, but the reality is all of them have APIs. And if they don't have an API, you should probably tell them to build one, because it's very important that you're able to take your first party data and sync that over to some of those marketing tools that you may or may not already be using. And that can be across your advertising channels, it can be across your email platforms, it can be across different SMS tools that you might be using. And it's important to have that data be dynamic. So when a fan meets that criteria, they're automatically put into that filter and then synced over to that third-party platform that you want to send a marketing message out through. So it's always best to show. I like to show and tell. And so that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to actually hop into our platform. And this is exactly what our partners see every day when they log in. So you can see our platform is divided into 3 sections here around engage audience, know your fans, market smarter. Where I really want to focus here on is in the fan CRM itself. And I specifically want to dig into that affinity piece that I was talking to. Because, it's really important for us to, again, get the right message in front of the right fans. So what I'm going to do is just do a quick search here in the CRM and say, find me fans who have affinity for the Foo Fighters. I'm just picking them because they're one of my faves. I'm an OG Foo Fighters fan. And I see now I have 37,000 fans in my CRM who have affinity for Foo Fighters, meaning they've either purchased Foo Fighters merch in the past, they've engaged with a Foo Fighters maybe engagement campaign or contest, or if I happen to have ticketing data where they bought to an actual Foo Fighters event, that is how we can associate affinity. But I can also take this a step further and analyze this. So I see that I have local affinity of people who listen to Foo Fighters, are also listening to some of these others. But if I also want to find related artists from Spotify, I can do that as well here too. So if I want to expand my audience of who I want to target here, I could say, okay, I want to find people that have affinity for Foo Fighters, but maybe according to this, I also want to find, according to what Spotify says, these similar fans also listen to, is I'm going to find people that also listen to Alice in Chains and Kings of Leon. And maybe I want to expand my audience here and make it a little bit bigger. Let's spell Kings correctly. And I want to expand this audience now to be a little bit higher than the 37,000 that I had. So when I add in those other similar artists, I've now brought my audience up to 53,000. I'm like, okay, I'm happy with this now. So the first step we do is we save that. So I'm just going to call this Foo Affinity, give it a save, and now I can create an audience and sync this over in real time to our ad accounts. So I can say, okay, I want to sync this audience over to my ad account. Maybe I also want to create lookalikes and let Facebook Meta kind of do its thing, because they have their own algorithm of people that are similar to these types of fans and pick how much of a percentage. I can also sync it over to various other ad accounts, whether it's Google, TikTok, Snapchat, all the things. And so I can have that audience syncing in real time dynamically to those ad campaigns. I can also choose to send this to potentially an outgoing integration, let's say with MailChimp. So maybe what I want to do is tag these people as Foo Affinity, and I'm going to export this now, and it's going to go into an an audience that I've already set up on MailChimp, and now I can send them an email in real time as well too. So that's just a quick example in real time of how the data can work for you and help your marketing initiatives, because we find that a lot of our partners who take the time to really segment their audiences and get the right messages in front of the right fans tend to see a really high ROI and a high click-through rate on the messaging that they're putting out there, whether that's through SMS, email, advertising, etc. So now that I've shown you kind of the how we actually do that, I want to share some examples of how this has actually worked for some of our partners. So we did, we worked with Country Jam, which is a Colorado music festival, who was looking to grow their audience because they were noticing that their audience was not returning year over year. And they wanted to make sure that while growing their audience, they were still maintaining a very high return on their ad spend. And so what we did was we did the segmenting in the platform to make sure we were hyper targeting the right fans and finding those what we call 5-star fans. So we like to help make sense of people's data by fan ranking for you. So we'll rate a fan who's 5-star, who's someone who's maybe buying those higher price ticket items like the VIP tickets or the higher price merch, or they're engaging a lot. We take a lot of that into the factors of our fan ranking algorithm. And we'll make sure that we're segmenting the 5-star fans and putting messages in front of them. And then we work our way down to the 4, the 3-star, and the 2-star fans from there. Again, with the goal being, I want to make sure we're getting the best possible ROI. So it's all about starting with the super fans and working your way down from there. And then hopefully it leads to a sellout, which, you know, we've done for this festival year over year, and while also maintaining a really high return on their ad spend as well. And then it's really important as kind of the key piece here while you're doing all this segmenting and sending messages out is to make sure that you can directly attribute which marketing channel is actually doing the best for your business. And we've done a little bit of this, you know, sure, with Google Analytics, and we put UTMs on a lot of our links. But if we can actually tell a bigger story here beyond clicks and actually show direct attribution by channel, the goal is we want to, by the end of a, let's say, festival season or the end of a year with an artist, sit down with them and say, okay, let's look at all the links that we put out on, you know, on Facebook versus social versus email. Maybe you also did some work with influencers. Each of those channels have their own kind of like Bitly on steroids, we like to call our tracker technology. So all of the links that they're putting out there, we're not only tracking the clicks, but we're actually tracking attributed purchases because we have those direct integrations with things like merch, ticketing, etc., to help you tell that story. And so it is based on the last click 5-day attribution window. But really what we want to do is help people make more data-informed decisions. So understanding which channel is actually performing the best for you so that when you go to make your strategy for the next year ahead, you can say, hey, this channel is actually growing and doing really well for us. Let's double down our efforts on this. Let's put a little bit more time and energy into this channel because we know that the return on that channel is really well. And this is something that we did with Outside Lands for many years. We put lots of trackers across all their different marketing initiatives, and they've been so great at using these trackers across their marketing. And by doing so, they were actually not only able to identify that SMS was one of the fastest growing successful channels for them, they really doubled down their efforts on that. So they, by understanding SMS was a growing tool for them, they started investing more time and energy and money into this space to make sure that they were hitting fans with these milestone moments, but also making sure that they weren't just reaching out to fans when they wanted something from the fans. So yes, it is important to put conversion messaging in front of them, but it's also important to give the fans other things of benefit when you are sending to, let's say, your fans via SMS, because they can very easily opt out just by replying back with the word stop, right? So it's also about making sure that you're leveling out the conversion asks versus the give. And we've seen a lot of artists send things via SMS, like a private, you know, SoundCloud or a Google Drive link where fans could listen to a a special track that would never be released to the public, you know, giving them that VIP type of experience that they're really not going to get elsewhere, is where you start to see the really high return on your investment in this space. So if we can leave you with kind of any key takeaways here before we get into the Q&A session, which is always our favorite part, is number one, take advantage of the milestone moments. So the high intent moments are the best moments where you can build your database. And so like what Lenny was saying, when you have everyone in a room before a show and everyone's sitting there and the excitement is happening, that is a huge opportunity to get a QR code up on that screen and capture some first-party data. Even in the bathrooms, when everyone has to use the washroom during a show at some point, why not have a QR code on the bathroom door there, even if it's just for the show and you've guerrilla marketed it up there, and then after the show you take it down so the venue doesn't get mad at you. But these are the moments where it's like, let's take advantage of those things to capture first-party data. The second one is really about being deliberate. So don't oversaturate your fans with the same generic type of messaging. Like we said, the key is segmenting the right message in front of the right fan and also at the right time. And so this is where the segmenting becomes so key, and where being deliberate, really you start to see a huge return on those segments that you've started sending messages to. And then lastly, automate. The reality is we don't have time to be sitting there pulling manual reports and uploading manual data. And so wherever possible, if you can set up an automation to sync over data in the background for you because they have an API capability, or if we can automate a report that comes to your inbox every morning with the stats that you're interested in looking on, we're big proponents as a tech company to automate as much of those processes as possible, because you know, it's not only going to give you time and energy back to do the more strategic thinking, but to also make more data-informed decisions using the data that you're collecting and using the stats you're collecting too. Because for so many years, we've gone off the gut feelings of what we think works well with our fan base, but let's actually let the fans tell us what works well for them. And they will tell you, and you'll see it in the behaviors of how they're opting in. And you know, if they're choosing to opt into SMS versus email, we see a lot of that with different demographics. I've noticed Gen Z has been huge on SMS opt-ins versus, you know, some of the older demographics that prefer email. Your fan base will tell you what they want. And so I really do firmly believe that each fan base is different, and it's important to understand what yours wants and needs out of you as an artist or someone representing an artist in the music space. So with
and
that,
if I could add to you know what Alicia's sort of saying, like milestone and deliberate moments, like there's a great opportunity to make that show more special if you send, you know, either there's a QR or you know you have fans in that area, Seattle, like we're playing this show, put in a request of some special songs we can put into the set, different things like that. How are you going to make things unique and special for them, right?
Exactly. So yeah, so with that, I will, I guess, throw it over to our audience now. If anybody has any questions about anything, more than happy to answer them.
Looks like we got one in here. It's from Kenny.
Awesome.
I'll read it out and then let's see, we'll figure out who's that. So his question is, let's say an artist is planning a total genre shift in their upcoming releases. Can Charitable Bits assist in reaching listeners of artists in different genres to expand their audience?
Yeah, so the key with that is we are big proponents working off of your own first party data. So if you're looking to expand into a different genre, I would first start with running something where you can capture data and we target specifically those genre of people, because obviously you can do generic type of targeting, whether it's on Spotify or whether it's on Meta. So you would want to make sure that whatever you're showing to that specific audience within that genre that likes that music, that it is something leading to a first party data capture, so that you can then remarket to those people and have a bit of a drip program happening after. So Absolutely, but it's not, we don't have a magical button in our system where we're like, oh, here's a group of people that you can target. We're big proponents on owning your own data and building up that audience yourself versus tapping
And
into an existing database.
yeah, I mean, thinking about that, exactly what Alicia's saying, you can find a fun way of engaging your audience around it, right? So everyone is country's the hot thing to shift into, but you could, if you have an established fan base, and the great thing is we're like these are artists, so you have fans who want to engage with you. So I talked about renting an audience versus owning an audience. You still have a conduit to connect and share with your audience through social. That's your driver, but you want to drive them off platform to do something. So through an Insta story or whatever it is, or you could be sending them to a landing page to say like, who's your favorite? What are some of your favorite country songs? And you actually list some of these things out with the artist, and how they sort of answer is going to give you some indication and data around that as well. Is it a really good crossover space to go to? Hope that answers the question for you, Ken.
Yeah. And that being said, I will also like shout out a lot of the ticketing providers now also offer really great like digital advertising services where you can tap into their database. So if you are working with a Ticketmaster, for example, or a Universe or a Frontgate, a lot of them offer marketing services where you can pay to tap into their database and target a specific group of people there too. So if you are looking to tap into an existing database, they have a lot of data to tap into. Obviously, they'll charge you to do that, which is why we're always, a big proponent of, let's also, if you want to do that in tandem with also building up that data yourself, because you do want to be able to reach those people directly yourself in the future.
Looks like we got another one. Do you guys work with other ticket providers like Dice, FM and
Posh?
Dice, I know we've looked at before. I mean, we're ticket agnostic, so if there is any ticketing, we're open to working with any ticket provider. We've listed the ones that we've done the direct integrations for. So if they want to play nice with us, we're more than happy to ingest the data. But there are from APIs our favorite, automated, great way to do it. But there are many other ways to be able to capture the data. So if there is, even if they're dumping you nightly spreadsheets or whatever, we can create a script and upload those on a SFTP every 24 hours, things like that. So definitely open to it. Looks like that was from Bosco. So if you have any questions around that, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to discuss further.
Yeah, a good question to ask those ticketing providers if you do work with them currently is just ask them what their API capabilities are if they have one. And if they don't, ask them if they're open to, doing SFTP file transfers. This way we can be getting, and we just don't want you to ever have to download a group of ticket buyers to your own computer, because that also puts you at a security risk with PII information. And we like to avoid that at all costs. So if we can make sure that data is being sent directly from the source to ours, that's the more ideal scenario rather than having you have to download things yourself.
It looks like we're starting to come to the end of questions here. While we're waiting for any stragglers, just want to say thank you again so much, Alicia and Lenny, for being here today. We really appreciate you representing Tradable Bits and talking through the data today. We really appreciate that. And thanks for folks for being here today. Just some reminders that this webinar, in case you'd like to share it with your colleagues, a recording of this will be available on Music Biz's website by end of business today. That way you can review the slides that were shared and the data and information that was shared, as well as pass it along to your teams as well. And thank you again, Tradable Bits, for being here today. We really appreciate you presenting.
Yeah, thanks you guys so much for having us.
And it looks like we're coming up on the end of Q&A. So again, thank you everyone who was here with us today. Appreciate your time and attention. Look forward to welcoming you to a future Common Ground webinar series session, and hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks again, Alicia. Thanks again, Lenny. Appreciate you.
Nope.